Before we start the show, don't forget to sign up to the book at thehighestandbestuse.com. In the book, I talk about over 200 and some odd pages, the highest and best use of the land, the structure, the personal skill sets, and time. These three things are what you need to do really, really awesome deals, and that's all in the book. So if you can, go to the website, thehighestandbestuse.com. You'll find all the links as to where you can get it. Amazon Chapters, Indigo, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, all these places. Ebook, paperback, hardcover, it's all there. Again, thehighestandbestuse.com. Now we'll get to the show.
I'm Ara Poladian, and the highest and best use for my business is multifamily construction.
Thanks for tuning into the Highest and Best Use Real Estate Podcast, the show where we talk about techniques to optimize your land, structure, skill sets, and time, as well as the highest and best use principles to make your business more profitable, productive, and efficient. I'm your host, Ryan Carr, reminding you that good deals are found, great deals are created. And today, the man, Ara Poladian, welcome to the show.
How's it going, Ryan?
I'm very excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
You and I met like 6 months ago playing golf.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy's smart. We got to get him on the show.
The best times are on the golf course.
I know, it's true. It's true. So, okay, a little bit about you. Owner-operator of Poladian Construction. You're a GC now. You've been a part of several multi-unit builds, which is super cool. We're going to get into that today. And P.Eng with a background in structural work.
You got it.
Man, do you even sleep?
Not in university, that's for sure.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Ryan.
Before we get into 3 key points about today, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I was basically born and raised in Cambridge, Ontario. I went to university in Hamilton. I went to McMaster, where I did structural engineering, civil engineering, and then I specialized in structural. After graduating, I did all my co-ops in like construction management. And I said, man, all this design I did, I have to do like something in more consulting. So that's what I did. I actually was able to line up a job before even graduating. So took like a week off after.
That's so key.
Yeah.
That's so key.
And it was all based on my experience.
Wow.
And my first ever co-op job was literally a construction laborer, but he made it seem like it was like an assistant site super. So it just looked amazing on my
this guy's incredible.
Yeah, right? So they actually even asked me to come back for the second summer. And then third summer I had I worked for a heavy construction company building basically like an industrial succic acid plant in Sarnia. So completely different construction. It was really cool to see. And from there, like my resume looked great. Like this like I didn't even get they didn't ask for a transcript or anything.
No way.
Right? So they loved my experience, killed the interview, and they're like, you start right when you graduate.
Experience, we should get into the topics, but experience, I always think, is so much better 100%. Than a transcript.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, you got straight A's, rock and roll.
Well,
but like you're no good on site. What do you do?
Exactly. Even like Elon Musk said, like he likes graduating people that didn't even go to college.
1,000%.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I did consulting for like 2 years.
Yeah.
It was really necessary because it helped me get my P.Eng. But like just no passion for it. No passion for it. I saw like my supervisor, one of the head engineers, sat at his desk, all day, great at what he did, like an amazing engineer. And I was just like, man, like I miss being on the job site more. I like to see the beginning and the end of projects. Yeah. Right. So I went back into project construction management, working for like a general contractor in the project management team. And I did that honestly right up until COVID. Yeah. And then COVID kind of took a turn. It was pretty crazy. I took a job for a new general contractor. They were doing like amazing projects in Cambridge. Like they're from Cambridge. I took the job and my start date was March 16, 2020.
No way.
So like the week of COVID. Yeah. So I started, had no idea what was going on. And within 3 weeks, I was the second guy to get let go. Yeah. And that's when I was like, you know what? I'm not letting anybody else put food on my table.
So then let's talk about the construction industry now. So what are you seeing today versus what you saw pre-COVID? And then how did you make that jump to being self-employed?
I mean, like it's crazy how expensive things have gotten. That's like, obviously, you know that firsthand. But I remember,
sadly.
I was literally, I remember buying like a 2x4 for $3 in like literally January of 2020. Yeah. Like $3. And even now it's like $5 for a 2x4. So the cost has been absolutely insane, the increase. I mean, it's nice that it came down a bit.
Yeah. What's a 2x4 today? We're going to date stamp this show. I think it's like $6 or $7.
So I just bought a bunch for a basement reno, $5.
$5. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? It went from $3 to like 13
Yeah.
down to like 8, back to 12, and it's slowly coming back to reality.
I actually bought, I did an entire duplex conversion. I had to buy it at $13.
Oh, shit.
Like I got a bit of a discount, like contractor discount.
Yeah, what do you get, your 5% or something?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. So it was insane.
Man, that's terrible.
So, it's definitely harder to build right now, especially with interest rates going up and costs of the real estate's going down. So
are we going to come back to reality across the board? Electrical, plumbing, HVAC, all the stuff, lumber? Or do you think that we're still going to see a little bit of tumultuous timing for the next few years?
I don't think we're going to come back to reality, personally. I don't think so. I think things are going to...
Why? Why is that?
I honestly, it's just like they can bring inflation down, but they're not going to make it like negative. They're not going to make it like deflation.
Sure.
Like right now, we're trying to get
your 2x4s for $1.
Yeah. Right. We're going back down. Like we're going back down to like normal inflation. But yeah, I can't see it. Just like I can't see, a bungalow in Oshawa going back down to like 250.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Those are the days.
Yeah. So yeah, I think these are the times, and I think like my personal opinion, not a financial advisor, but I think when they start cutting rates again, whenever that is, next year, 2024 or whatever, I think things are just going to explode again.
Really?
Yeah, that's my personal opinion.
Interesting. So then how do you as an investor, not just a contractor, but investor, position yourself for that with respect to the construction side of things?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're still, really banking on existing structures, and we're just getting into bigger buys.
Oh, okay.
So we're transitioning a little bit into, not a little bit, we're going kind of full throttle into the multifamily space.
Yep.
Basically, not even 6 unit anymore, like more like 10 to 20 units. That's kind of like our sweet spot right now. And
it's like it's bigger than the mom and pop, but smaller than the institutional.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I think a lot of people are doing the same thing. But
Yep.
I just found a niche in that kind of area where we're going in, we're taking these, we're trying to get vacant units, and then we're really putting like our stamp on the renos. We're not doing like lipstick. Like we're doing like, we want like tenants to be like shocked when they walk into our units. So, and again, that's kind of where the construction company comes into play.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody can do that, but like we're passionate about it. Like even when I do a flip, like I don't just try to like cover, like just, cover up the wound. You know what I mean? Like we're doing a project right now just outside of Stratford, and it's like full on foundation work.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see, even if we don't make, we're not trying to make $200,000-$300,000 on this flip, but like just to see like the end result, like a family buying this house. This was like the biggest eyesore. It's in Shakespeare.
Yeah.
It was like the biggest eyesore. So like the fact that we're going in and just making it like habitable and like a beautiful space, it's just like, it feels good.
It's such a good feel. When it's done, you stand back and you're like, I'm proud of that one.
Yeah.
That one's good.
And then like, family's going to like really like, like they're going to make memories there, It's a good feeling.
Foundation work is great because a lot of people don't love doing the foundation work because it scares them. It's expensive. They don't understand it. But if you do, there's so much opportunity.
Yeah, big time. Waterproofing,
Structural, all that. Is this all part of your plan, or?
Yeah, well, we're not waterproofing right now in the winter, but we're just basically we're like reparging everything inside and outside.
Yep.
And just getting this thing like, and then we're probably gonna do some eavesdrops work just to get even more water away from the property. But yeah, we're essentially putting we're just fixing everything.
Yeah,
like everything.
Nice.
And like this house is from the 1890.
Oh wow.
No insulation ever. So
not even newspaper magazines in the walls. No, just hollow.
Yeah, and somebody was living in it like that. Yeah.
How's it heated?
Oil. So we're getting that out of there.
Fortune.
Yeah, we're getting natural gas.
Yeah.
And like we're doing everything legit, like permits. Like I don't get when people are so scared of permits.
Yeah.
You're putting a insurance policy that you're doing it like by the city, and they can't go back. They can't go back to you.
It's the worst feeling to get busted for no permit.
Yeah.
And then you have to stop your work, whatever that costs you on a daily, weekly, monthly.
Yeah.
And then do the drawing, and then do the wait time, and then do the submission.
Yep.
And then like a month or two later, you're back to what you should have just been doing to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. And like my personal opinion is like if you weren't gonna do it to code to begin with, then why are you even doing it?
Right.
Yeah. So we're getting permits. We're doing So going back to the multifamily, I think with the amount of people like you know, the amount of immigrants coming in, I think it's like up to like 500,000 a year.
It's a lot of people. That's a lot of units.
Yeah. And we're already in a housing shortage. So, you know, where are these people going to go? They're going to rent, right? So if we have these beautiful 2, like even 1, 2, 3 bedroom, you know, units. So that's what our goal right now is just stockpiling the multis.
Did you say, or would you say that you learned the majority of your experience from school or from job site training?
Job site training, 100%. Yeah.
Boots on the ground.
Yeah, 100%. The school, okay, I won't say like school was like completely pointless.
Right.
Like taking down a load bearing wall for me is probably way less scary than, you know, the average just investor.
You're like, yeah, take the wall out.
Yeah.
Let's take it out. It'll be gone tonight.
So like, honestly, we usually open up like even when we're doing duplex conversions, we'll open up almost all of them.
Nice.
And like the cost of steel beam, $200, you know what I mean? The engineering, I don't do my own engineering just for liability issues, but I use.
Could you? Could you stamp it?
I actually can't because I don't have a certificate of authorization.
Okay.
Which is basically insurance.
Right.
And it's very, very pricey. Like it's called like professional liability insurance. Like we obviously have general liability for the company.
Yeah.
But the professional is quite, that's why most engineers just use the employer's certificate.
Oh,
They're blanketed under the employer.
Interesting.
Right.
So, meaning if you, like you're saying, if you work for a company, you could have a plethora of engineering. That department would say, we're going to take it to the head engineer. The head guy would stamp it. Or
exactly.
The company would
whoever was stamping it is insured basically through the company's policy. Yeah. That's the benefit of, that's why it's really hard to start your own engineering firm. It's very, 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 very difficult. Like
cost prohibitive,
and their margins are very low.
Really?
Right. Oh yeah.
I would have thought that engineering was fairly good.
It's tough. It's tough to keep margins.
Really?
For typical, like especially houses and.
Let's dive into that because it's really interesting. When I pay an engineer to do something, whatever that may be, whether it's soil sample or structural or whatever, like they charge a decent amount. So is their back end just so expensive, or like why is it
like
low
man
margin?
Hours? So I'll give you an example. Like when you're doing a brand new build, the percentage of all the like engineering design costs. With like you got to realize like there's like the architect's cost, the mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, structural engineer. Structural engineer, in my experience, has typically been the lowest.
Really?
Yeah.
And you're talking multis.
Yeah. Houses, it's even less. Yeah. Like I remember, I won't say the company I used to work for, but they would do like a full like typical Part 9 house, but like they would always be like 10 to 15 items. And they would only charge like $300 for the letter, and they would just try to bang out as many as they could. So if a builder had like 1,000 houses in a stretch, they would just try to bang out those 1,000 as quickly as they can, keep their costs low, and then just do it like that.
So it was a volume game.
A volume game, especially for new builds. Obviously, when you're dealing with like custom homes, it's a lot different. Like we had some clients that were doing like this was like in 2016, like $10 million homes in like Oakville at that time. Right.
Were the margins better on a $10 million home than it was on
yeah, the margins were better because now we're dealing with like full, like sometimes we need like full structural drawings and all that stuff. But yeah, I remember seeing it like the money wasn't like the money wasn't crazy, especially in structural. Interesting. Yeah.
That's interesting. Because you know what? I think a lot of people, and I was going to ask you this about being a builder later, but we'll do it now. I think a lot of people see what they see in the market, whether it be the resale price of the house, the new built house, or the front price of what somebody charges if you're an engineer or a contractor or what have you, but they don't know what goes on behind the scenes, right? They don't know the cost to support the insurance of the business or the cost of the staffing or WSIB in construction, all of these things. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So you have to realize like the liability, this is a part of the reason why I didn't want to do it anymore. Like the liability of an engineer is literally like you can be almost be facing jail time for negligence, right? Just like a site super. Like if somebody falls on the job site and they found the site super was negligent, not carrying people or tying off, they can go to jail. Like they can literally serve jail time. And we like it's huge, right? So if you were just like didn't get enough sleep that day or didn't care to double check or didn't have somebody else check your work and God forbid something happens on the job site and they realize like you under designed something, like your career is basically over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you'll find this interesting. I remember in orientation of engineering, they said if you're doing this for money, you're in the wrong profession.
Shit.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew?
So you really have to be, and like I got like best friends that are like super passionate about
Yep.
the actual engineering.
Right.
And that's when I knew it wasn't like I have to find my own path, because I didn't just like sitting there and doing designs all day. All right. So yeah, you have to be passionate about it, or else you're just gonna hate your career.
So let's talk about that. How did you make that transition from employed to now employer?
And so that's funny. So it was basically all like, it was just like God made that path for me, because I didn't even like quit. I literally got laid off because of COVID. And and then I just said, like, because I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. My dad was an entrepreneur. He always kind of, put it in my head, like, the way you get in life, be an employer and have employees. So it was nice to have that, growing up. And that was like the kind of like the last straw, because like I always thought about it. But even my dad said, like, you're young, like you just graduated, go get experience. And then COVID was the biggest, like, okay, now you literally have no excuse. You're unemployed. People aren't hiring. Doug Ford had just shut down like any new construction.
Yeah, it was wiped out.
Yeah, it was like after April 2020. If you didn't have a permit, your job shut down.
Yep.
That's why I got laid off. And I said, I was actually reading, I'll never forget this. I was reading Mark Loeffler and Ian Szabo's book at the time, the Fix and Flip.
Yeah, yeah. Mark's coming on the show.
Like, oh, no way, yeah. So I literally reached out to Mark, and he gave me the simplest advice, but like I still owe him to this day. And he's like, go do a duplex conversion. Yeah. Like with your experience with construction, go do a duplex conversion. And I just dove right in, like just head on. Like I just felt so motivated. I was like, I'm going to do this. I had saved up like a decent amount from my job. Yep. I had a line of credit on my house. I got a private mortgage, bought a basically bungalow in Cambridge, and I did everything. I was on the job site. I did all my drawings. I had AutoCAD on my computer. I did all my drawings, applied for my permits.
Because you can do that as a homeowner.
Yeah. As a homeowner, you can do that. I hired like a plumber, electrician, and HVAC, and I did everything else.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it was
like you hung the drywall, you painted the walls, you did the whole
I
bit.
did everything. Yeah, everything.
You learned so much doing that.
Man, and I didn't know I had this much of a passion for working like with the tools. Like to this day, like I miss it. Yeah. Like I took myself off the job site now. Sure. It wasn't the highest and best use of my time. Oh. Shout out.
Shout out. Hashtag folks.
So I hired a site super, and I have a lead carpenter. Nice. I had two. I'm back down to one. And I've taken like the more running the business approach, but like even now, like we're putting my office, like my home office in the basement, adding a bathroom and everything down there. I'm like, I miss it. I'm gonna do a lot of the work myself, just because like the stuff I like framing, or probably painting, flooring, just stuff I like. I want to do it myself, just because. Sure, it's not the best use of my time, let's say, but like if you love something, if you're passionate about it.
That's the forever balance.
That's right.
It really is. Like you can make $1 billion over here and be miserable. Yeah. Or you could make less than $1 billion over here and be super happy. Yeah. Right.
And so that's the biggest thing, man. You got to follow your passion. So after my first one, I just got the bug for it, and just kind of like dove right in and haven't turned back.
What would you say to somebody what would you say to somebody that's in your shoes right now, or wanting to make that transition? What would you say to them if you had to look back on your move and say, you know what, maybe do it this way because I did it wrong? What would you say to those folks?
I would say, don't like do your own homework and don't just listen to kind of the mob per se. Like for example, I had a chance of locking in a 1.75% 5-year fixed after I did the duplex conversion. Yep. So in my head, I had no intentions of selling it, but everyone kept telling me like variable's better, and the variable was 1.5. Well, that 1.5 is now 5.5. Yep. I had I still don't have intention of selling that property. It was my first ever duplex conversion. It was like my baby. Or I could have just, because it was a full bird too. So I pulled out all my money.
All your money, everything.
I could have just locked it in at 5 years. At 1.75, cash flowed amazing. And now cash flow got wiped out. So I would say, but again, like these are all learning. Like I don't think like all my mistakes I made, are learning opportunities. So it's hard to say, But if somebody was just starting out, my number one thing is just, the drive. Just go get it. That's the biggest thing.
Did you hire people right away?
I didn't. No, I did. I hired slow. I did even like my second project. I basically refied my first duplex conversion, jumped on my second one. At that point, I did bring on another independent contractor, and we were kind of working hand to hand. And in turn, I was basically teaching him how to do a duplex conversion.
Yep.
So it was kind of a win-win. He was charging me cheap labor and he was learning. So yeah, it was great.
That's a bonus. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was honestly, it was COVID. Everyone was slow. Like people, like family members and stuff. I had my cousin on site with me. And we had fun. My brother would come help sometimes. Like we honestly, it was looking back at it, it was fun. Like,
it'd be a very cool memory to say, hey, look at this picture from 2022 or 2021 or 2020.
No, for sure. It was great. And, I would just say, for people starting out, just ask as many questions as you can. The one thing I did hire right away, it was a mentor. And I would say that was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
Hire a mentor. Even if it's like a free internship, like ask somebody to just do something for them, like trade your time for their knowledge, right? Instead of just saying like, the worst is like, hey, can I pick your brain? And take you out for coffee? It's like, dude, I don't need a coffee, right? You know what I mean? Like I'm super busy myself. So yeah, that's definitely, things to take on.
So going back to the multifamily space, let's talk about construction and building a larger build. So you've done the duplex thing, you understand construction, you're fluent on the engineering side. So now you can kind of put all the pieces together. If we go back to the multifamily space, let's talk about some of the bigger builds that you've been part of. Yeah. And maybe your role within those builds. Okay,
so that was another reason why the duplex conversions didn't scare me. Because I was doing them, like, let's say, like, I was completely renovating the main floor, doing the basement, like, starting from, like, basically concrete walls. And my budget at the time, because I was doing a lot of the work myself, was like $100,000. So I was like, I just finished, managing a $10 million new build. I think $100,000, renovation is going to be a piece of cake, right? So, yeah, I was working for a big general contractor in the Cambridge area. I was in their, like, mid-rise division. And, I loved it. It was good. My two biggest projects were 250-unit purpose-built rentals in Belleville.
So 50 units.
50 unit
wow.
each, yeah.
Dude, that's big.
Yeah, and they staged it pretty nice. It was like we were wrapping up the first one, like roof was enclosed and everything like that, and then we started excavating the second one.
Yeah.
And I took that over. My role was a project coordinator. I moved up to senior project coordinator, and then the next step was project manager. Yeah. So it was basically project manager's right-hand man, just helping the entire management, because a job like that you can't do by yourself.
No, you can't DIY 50 units.
Yeah. So
why did they excavate one before the other? Was it just you had a staging area for material, or?
Yeah. So I got on like after it had already started, but because they wanted to use a lot of the same contractors, they just wanted to stage it where start the one and where you get to the point where you can take the crew onto the next one. Wow. It didn't quite work out that way because there was such a big delay. So it was like
construction delayed. Come on.
Yeah, I know, right?
Come on, impossible.
Yeah, and it was a very, very big client too. It was a fun project. It was a really fun project. Going there once a week, seeing like all the progress. It was good. So I was basically like the whole entire project management kind of role, working the schedule, working the budget, taking in all the invoices, making sure people aren't, because it was like monthly draws. So making sure people weren't billing too much, make sure they're actually billing for the amount of work that they did.
Did you ever catch some funny business?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Like what?
Just people overbilling. Like, but we'll get there. Like, we'll finish, by the end of the month, we will be 90% done. It's like, you're like 70.
Well, you don't get paid until you're done.
Yeah.
That's how this works.
Yeah. And we're talking like an electrical contract was like $700,000 on something like that. Right. Yeah. So we're talking big money, big responsibility. So, and we would do like a project coordinator could take about like 4 to 5 buildings at a time. So I had like two in Belleville. And then about 2 to 3, it all depends on what time in Guelph. We were big in Guelph.
How different is construction on the residential space versus the large multifamily?
It's different. It's a lot more coordination and planning, because you're dealing with, so our bread and butter was prefab wood panel walls with like basically like hollow core prefab floors. Okay. That was the bread and butter.
Is that concrete?
Yeah. Yeah. Like with the big...
Yeah, the cores in the middle.
Yeah, the cores. Yeah. So the coordination was very, very difficult because like you need to have everything prepped for everything, right? So it was a lot of coordination between like electrician, heating and plumbing, and then with us, with the, with the wall fab company, with, the stubbies or whatever that that do like the pre-core hollow core slabs.
Yeah.
So that was definitely the biggest difference. It's not just like a cookie cutter house.
Yeah.
It's like every building's different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, stick frame versus concrete is very different.
Yeah. And imagine like you did an entire floor and you have no room for your conduits now, your electrical conduits.
So if you had to build a building for yourself, like
Yep.
if you were going to build a purpose-built 50-unit whatever, right? Would you stick frame it, or would you pour concrete, or would you go prefab like this, and why?
I would have to really compare prices now.
Sure.
Wood was a lot. I don't think concrete went up as much as wood did.
Concrete's up now, though.
Is it?
Oh,
Yeah, we don't use too much of it, so
dude,
I'm not.
it's like double.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, from what it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Double.
So yeah, like I would try to avoid using wood. To be honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
I like more of the concrete building.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we were building these brand new, so I didn't get to see, like let's say 5 years down the road.
Yeah.
When the building is done expanding, contracting.
Yeah.
Like I heard horror stories about, cracks in door frames and all that stuff just from the actual, building
The
itself.
settling of
Yeah. So if I had to do it, I would look at more of a full concrete.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're not. You know what? When they're done, cost aside, obviously cost is important, but like when they're done, it's more quality.
Yeah, I think so.
They don't sound as hollow.
Yeah.
Right. Your tenants are happier. Like if you go into a condo building and it's concrete,
Exactly.
If you go into a 4-story townhouse and it's stick frame with a concrete base, right, or a 5-story,
Yeah.
you know
exactly.
the difference. You hear it.
And actually, the engineering consulting firm I used to work for was the leader on, like, they had their own program. Like, one of the head engineers literally made a program. Because I don't know if you remember, like, I think it was like 2015 or 14, where they allowed for up to 6 stories all in wood. So we were one of the lead companies.
Base as well, like main floor also.
Everything wood.
Really?
Yeah. And they went, so it used to be only 4, and then they increased it to 6.
Yeah.
And we had like a software that could like design it all. It was pretty crazy.
Because a lot of guys are not cheating, but like they're making it work for them, right? Where they're
Yeah.
doing the podium is concrete or block or what have you, which is effectively the foundation, right? And then they go 4 stories on top.
Yeah. So yeah, we were doing like we were designing full 6. I didn't get to the point where I was on those. Like that was like you needed like really a lot of experience, and they had their own commercial division.
Double the insurance for an engineer.
Yeah. So we were. I was more on the residential, and to be honest with you, that's where I had more passion. And because like growing up, I always kind of like I told myself I wanted to build houses. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
Have you seen the timber frame skyscrapers? This is becoming a new thing.
I haven't.
No, it's all like laminated, like LVLs.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It's all laminated structural lumber, and they make these great big beams and they send them up in the sky. This is the new thing. And they're calling them like organic skyscrapers or something. It's like, it's like salad dressing. You could eat it. It's so organic.
There you go. No, I got to check that out though. That sounds so cool.
Like what do they call it? It's like LVL, something like LVL.
Yeah.
It's basically plywood stuck together and sent into the sky.
That's insane. Yeah, like timber framing was when we were doing when I was with the consulting. Timber framing was big for demographic, like the custom homes. People loved it.
Yeah. In the multi-space, where do you think the most money's made? The land, the construction, or the long-term ownership?
Oh, that's a good one. I think it's the development of the land. Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I'd say second would be long-term ownership.
Yep.
Yeah.
And construction is like dragging behind?
I think I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But
I agree with you.
Yeah. That's
but I'm curious as to why you think that.
I just think like the amount of time, it takes to develop, like, so basically like in construction, it's a very, very stressful. You know what I mean? Like
a lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts. You really need good management, and that can make or break your project. Because, like, at the end of the day, somebody has to fix and pay for a mistake, and a lot of the times they're not cheap, right? So, yeah, I would say that's the most. Yeah, I would say building would be third, long-term ownership second, and the development first. Because I feel like that's the thing that nobody wants to do. But there's the most profit for how much time you put in. Like if you're really determined and knew what you're doing, you go in there and you get the site plan approval and everything like that. I think that's kind of your biggest bang for your buck. Not the sexiest thing, but
it's interesting. But like again, this is stuff that people don't talk enough about.
Yeah.
Where's the money being made?
Exactly.
Right? Where is the money being made? Like you look at a project and you say, okay, we're going to make this much money if we do this amount of work. we're going to make this much more money if we do this much more work, but they don't realize that over time, right, the appreciation maybe has carried them through, and the appreciation has actually made them the money.
Yeah.
It's not the extra work that they did.
Exactly.
Can that same thing happen in a development where it's taking 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
Yeah. No, exactly. It's kind of like if you want to compare it to like wholesaling versus flipping.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, do you want to, the wholesaler, again, is doing a lot of the work that nobody wants to do, going directly to the sellers, this and that. And let's say you're making a $30,000 wholesale fee. Do you want a $30,000 wholesale fee? Or let's say you're doing a huge, like a 4-month flip that you might make $100,
Mm-hmm.
But, there's way more risk. Like who actually made more, right? The wholesaler that did way less work, but did the work that nobody wanted to do and made the quick 30, or, the person that took the risk and did the flip, and you're not even guaranteed, but projected to make, let's say 100.
Yeah.
So I think the same thing applies, I think, right?
So let's jump back into the permit process. You mentioned permits earlier on in the show.
Yep.
What's the permit process look like for the projects that you're working on today?
So duplex conversions, very, very standard. I used to do it all myself, but again, I'm too busy now. And so we have a drafter. Actually, he's a guy that I used to work with at another GC. Before I worked for the Cambridge one, I worked for another one in Brantford.
Isn't it nice to have that warm relationship that comes in? You already kind of know each other.
Yeah. And he was like the lead, he was the lead designer for this general contracting where they did like drafting in-house. So I had reached out to him, and he was thinking about going on his own. So he's kind of doing like something on the side on his own. So we built this relationship, and it's been great because he does all my drawings now, and we're even working on concepts for garden suites together.
Oh, nice. The next step.
Yeah, that's the next thing. So yeah, that's basically it. Duplex conversions, we always do permits. Depending on the flip, sometimes we do permits. If it's just literally like cosmetic
paint
lipstick,
flooring,
we won't. But like the Shakespeare flip I'm doing right now, he did all the drawings for me.
Nice.
And like they're like amazing. Like they're literally like commercial grade drawings. Like I actually submitted them to the Perth East County or whatever, and he's like, "These are really good drawings." He's probably like expecting like hand drawn or something like that.
Something on a napkin.
Yeah,
like,
this was like full on. Like he had setbacks and everything. So
cool.
Yeah, he's definitely the guy. And then the Maltese, I'm probably gonna lean towards always doing it. Especially if we're gonna add like in-suite washer and dryer and stuff like that, we're probably gonna end up just doing the standard architectural drawings as well. Yeah.
Does the permit process differ from a multi to single family home, duplex, garden suite?
Yeah, definitely. I find the single family home, they're a bit more lenient. And it's quicker. They don't expect as much, but once you're getting into the multis, they want everything, and they're very, very picky on everything too. I found.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what?
Fire separation, setbacks. Just basically the entire envelope.
More information. We want more information.
Yeah. Like again, I might just have bad experience. Like Cambridge is they're known to be not the best.
I find that everybody that comes on the show is like, "Oh man, my city's the worst. You haven't seen anything worse than my city, right?" Yeah. Everybody says this. It's like this unanimous thing across the board, like permit process, terrible. Cool.
Yeah, well, no, just even like comparing like Cambridge to Kitchener, like they're side by side. Yeah. Kitchener is like 100 times better.
Really?
Yeah, 100 times better.
You gotta wonder how that can be. Like we're all playing from the same book.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Okay, I'll give you an example. Okay, so my first ever duplex conversion. So they had everybody had the rule, or I guess the Ontario guideline had this rule where 60% of the gross floor area they want designated to the primary residence.
Okay.
40% for the secondary dwelling, which for me was a basement. So if you think about a bungalow, if you got 1,000 square foot bungalow, how much do you have in your basement? You got 1,000.
Just shy of.
Right.
Yeah.
So how would you ever get 60/40?
How do you get that?
Like the permit.
Do they deduct for stairs or utility room?
No.
Some municipalities do.
Some municipalities do.
Yeah.
Right. So my argument was, okay, I'll make a big enough mechanical room, not finished. So to make it that, take that square footage out, it's not finished space. Like nobody lives there. And they're like, nope, that counts. So I was trying to tell them, like, how do you expect me to do it? Like that part of the bylaw wasn't written to say bungalows aren't acceptable for basement apartments.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. Because if I had a two-story, I would have worked. I could use the whole basement.
So
right?
what'd you do?
So they made me do minor variance. Yeah, they actually delayed my project 4 months.
Yeah.
Made me do a minor variance. And in the hearing, nobody had a single hesitation towards it at all.
That's such a waste of municipal resources.
Exactly. And I was arguing with them. Like, I was pulling other cities' bylaws. City of Burlington had a specific note saying unfinished space doesn't qualify.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, but that's not our bylaw.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, just look at Kitchener.
Yeah.
Kitchener actually took that out and they said 50-50.
You're right.
Right? So if you have a basement, use the basement. So that's why investors were flocking to Kitchener more.
It was easier, one less step.
Yeah.
Yeah. Price points were about the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Price points, but I noticed, especially the bungalows, it was a bit more competitive in Kitchener. So it was a bit more there.
Isn't that ridiculous?
It was ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
So my whole point was that we're in a housing shortage, and I'm trying to add you legal units, like safe legal units, fire rated and everything. Why are you giving me a hard time?
Yeah.
And my neighbor actually tried to shut my project down.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, she actually just came up to my face and said... She came up to me and said, I tried to shut your project down. I was like, wow, you're very open and upfront. Thank you.
Come on.
Yeah, she's like, you're going to have students here. There's no school nearby.
Right.
Other than high schools.
Yeah.
And all this stuff. And meanwhile, I put in that duplex conversion, the upstairs is an elderly couple. Where the guy fell downstairs at his original house.
Oh my goodness.
He actually fell down the stairs, and his daughter's like, you no more 2-story home. So they sold their house. They live in my bungalow, and he couldn't be happier.
Right.
And the same thing in the basement it's not as elderly of a couple, but
nice, polite, respectful people.
Yeah.
Just hanging out.
And the neighbor actually loved the people I put in. So I was like, what was your point of this? Yeah.
Wow.
Just one of those neighbors, the second, when I met her, she was all nice and stuff. And then when she figured out it was going to be a rental, she's like, oh. And then on top of that, she figured out 2 renters. Game over.
Not in my backyard.
Exactly.
No way.
Exactly. So
what's next for you? As we wrap the show up, what's next for you?
Yeah, so where I'm taking the company is just kind of, I'm following where my passions lead. And so for more of the active income, we're going to be doing flipping a lot more. My wife is actually, she went to Conestoga College for interior decorating. So she's our design manager.
Nice, that's a good pairing.
Yeah, exactly. So you know,
I do.
Yeah, that worked out well for you as well. So and she is like a killer. Yeah, she's really, really good. Everybody comments on our designs, and they're like, wow, you do your units so good. And I always just say it's it's just the finishes she chooses. My units aren't any more expensive than the other person that fully renovates, right? But I just don't go dark flooring, gray walls.
Yeah.
Right. My wife tries to
pick something coordinated.
Yeah, we won't do every unit in a building different. Obviously that doesn't make sense. But we'll do a theme for a building. Right? And then we'll do all the units that theme, but we like to keep it consistent. So
neat.
Yeah, and we try to do different things on every every project we do. Let's say we're not going to do the same design for our duplex conversion in Cambridge compared to the Shakespeare flip. Shakespeare's the name says it all. Shakespeare's a very, very themed town.
Yep.
Right? They got Stratford literally 5 minutes away. They're famous for the festivals, the plays, the Shakespeare plays and everything like that. So
and Justin Bieber.
Yeah. So we're gonna try to theme it towards that, right? So again, I don't really try to get involved. She just kind of takes it and goes. But she kills it, and I think that's what makes our units kind of differ from everybody else's that people are seeing. So
it's the same effort to put down crappy floor or great floor, or to paint purple or beige.
Yeah,
it's the same.
It's everyone used to do white subway tile,
right?
So the little bit of difference is nice, and that's where we have passion for it, right? We like to see the one we did a flip in May, and the realtor, the clients loved the house so much they put a bully offer in 1 day, and this is when things were starting to go down.
Yeah,
and they put a bully offer 1 day, and the realtor did this huge post saying how much the owners fell in love with our kitchen.
Really.
Right, and
that's a good feeling.
It's a great feeling.
That's
right?
a testimonial that you didn't have to even go to market for.
Yeah,
they just gave it to you.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, like it just feels good that like, and they were a young couple with a baby. I think they were definitely a young couple, and like they wanted a starter home for their family. So it was really, really nice to see. So we're gonna keep going with the flips, and then on the passive like net worth, wealth building side, we're just trying to acquire as many buildings as we can.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for being here. I can tell from being on this side of the microphone that your passion is there.
Oh, thank you.
You're like your boots on the ground, you're tactile, you're experiencing it, you love what you do, and it shows. So
thank you, Ryan.
Kudos for building a great company.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
Anytime.
Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, so Instagram at Poladian Construction. They can email me, era@poladianconstruction.ca, or Facebook, just my name. That's probably the best way.
Look them up. Look them up. And thank you for the cigars.
Hey, anytime, man.
Oh, my goodness.
Anytime. We're going to have one on the golf course.
I know. Oh, man. So good. So good. Thanks again for listening to the Highest and Best Use Real Estate Podcast. Reminder to sign up for the book at thehighestandbestuse.com. I'm your host, Ryan Carr, reminding you good deals are found, great deals are created. Like, share, follow, and subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode.